7 major projects have been approved, and most of them involve fossil fuels or resource extraction. There are some that'll involve renewable energy or transmission lines, and some which have both conservation and resource extraction, as well as some that are indigenous owned. What I am highlighting is that most of the projects are resource intensive. They should have environmental impact assessments, and they should not deem them to be approved, as they could impact greenhouse gas emissions, endanger wildlife, potentially. But the One Canadian Economy Act allows them to be automatically approved, these projects in particular. And this is a concern to me. I will look at a news article. Let's see. I'm just transitioning screens. Oh, it's not a news article, but a press release. There's environmental defense. Senate urged to fix Bill C-5 to protect democracy and the environment. And this was published in June 24th, 2025. And I wanted to highlight a couple points that the legislation could override existing environmental laws, including the Fisheries Act and the Species at Risk Act. I didn't notice any projects in Ontario, but several provinces have weakened environmental legislation, including Ontario. So it is concerning that the provinces are weakening environmental legislation that protect wildlife at the same time as the federal government. There's also the deeming other legislative requirements to have been met, and there is an exemption for decisions from the Statutory Amendment Act, which allows for public comment on regulatory initiatives. And there's no requirement for meaningful public participation. There are only Indigenous engagement. So there are all concerns. And even like Indigenous engagement it's not free, prior, and informed consent for each nation. And then I will look at the next press release, which is from West Coast Law. And this says, Bill C-5 is not just bad policy, it's a constitutional mess. And this is posted in July. Projects will get the green light before they're all reviewed. I highlighted that point. That is concerning because projects that have flaws that are later identified are approved. And it's harder to walk back something once it's been approved. And you might have legal issues down the road with a project, or issues that could have been mitigated at the planning phase. And yeah, several projects are exempt from environmental laws. These 7. And I highlighted the deeming acts as legal doublespeak. For example, if a project affects an endangered species, normally the minister would have to be satisfied that it would not jeopardize the species' survival and recovery before agreeing to it. Bill C-5 would deem that the project will not jeopardize the species no matter its actual effects. And then there's a report that they link to that shows that it could happen that projects be approved. You don't have to choose between environmental law and approving a project in a timely fashion. So that is the update. Most of the projects are fossil fuel or resource extraction heavy. Some of them are owned by indigenous people, which is good, or indigenous nations, which is good. But the problem is the number of carbon intensive projects outweigh the low carbon or carbon neutral, possibly even carbon positive projects. And it's going to be very difficult for Canada to meet its climate obligations. And the climate isn't being considered at all when these projects are being approved, or the impact on the climate isn't being considered necessarily because of Bill C-5. So thank you for listening, and I will be back with a new video. There's a lot of content. On the environment, especially with the end of the year coming. There's a lot of end of the year reports and COP30 as well. So